Hey guys, I'm joined once again by my friend Cara, and we're doing a movie review. The movie we want to review is the 2024 horror film
Nosferatu. Oh, I thought we were going to say that together.
Now, Nosferatu was written and directed by Robert Eggers, who prior to this directed The Witch, The Lighthouse, and The Northman.
He's also working on the upcoming horror film Werewolf, and apparently he's going to be doing a new adaptation of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol with Willem Dafoe as Ebenezer Scrooge.
And this is a remake of the 1922 silent horror classic Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror, which itself was a loose adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, and it's actually the oldest surviving adaptation of Dracula. It's actually technically not the first Dracula movie. There was another adaptation that came out a year prior called Dracula's Death. It was a Hungarian film, but that movie is now considered to be lost, so for all intents and purposes, the original Nosferatu is the first Dracula movie.
Now, the original film was directed by German filmmaker F.W. Murnau, and at the time it was considered to be an unauthorized adaptation. The book was not public domain yet, and Murnau could not secure the rights from Florence Stoker, Bram Stoker's widow. Bram Stoker had been dead for about 10 years at this point. So instead of choosing another project, he basically said, fuck this bitch, we're gonna make the movie anyway. So he changed certain aspects of the story. He changed the setting from London to a fictional city in Germany. He changed the names of the characters. Most notably, the main antagonist, the vampire, went from Count Dracula to Count Orlok, who in the original film was played by German actor Max Schreck. Now, despite these changes from the original story, this was not fooling Bram Stoker's widow, and she convinced the German courts that the film was copyright infringement upon her late husband's novel, and the German government ordered all copies of the movie destroyed. But thankfully, some copies survived, and now the original Nosferatu is considered to be not just a horror classic, but an important and significant piece of cinema and film history. Now, in the years since then, the original Dracula novel fell into the public domain, and now there have been dozens of adaptations of the novel, and the character of Dracula himself has appeared in probably literally hundreds of films at this point, most of which are not even adapting the novel itself, but just happen to feature Dracula as a character. Of course, you had the 1931 Universal Pictures adaptation with Bela Lugosi. You had the Hammer films with Christopher Lee. You had the Francis Ford Coppola version with Gary Oldman. You had films like The Monster Squad and Dracula 2000. And most recently, you had the Luc Besson Dracula movie, which will begin a North American release in February. So this is a story and a character that is constantly being remade and reinterpreted for a new generation. And believe it or not, this is not the first remake of Nosferatu. There was a 1979 version called Nosferatu the Vampire, directed by Werner Herzog and starring Klaus Kinski and Isabella Gianni. There was also a low-budget remake of Nosferatu released in 2023, a year before this one, which featured Doug Jones as Count Orlok. And the character of Count Orlok himself, while being based on Dracula, is sort of his own character as well, and he's appeared in movies like Shadow of the Vampire, as well as an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode called The Tale of the Midnight Madness, and even a SpongeBob episode.
Nosferatu.
Have you seen the original Nosferatu, or the other remakes, or have read Dracula?
Sadly, even though we're friends, I have not, and I have only seen like the iconic scenes of the original Nosferatu, never in full, nor the full Dracula book, but I know that it's in letter format, which is really interesting, and I want to. I'm a big fan of Frankenstein, but when it comes to Dracula, I just know all the vampires in pop culture, really, or cartoons and stuff, and I'm even guilty of loving Van Helsing from 2004. But no, never really seen the original. I really did like Shadow of the Vampire, though.
Shadow of the Vampire is great.
And Willem Dafoe stars in this film, and he's Count Orlok in that film. You think it's worth a shot, the original one?
For a movie that's like over 100 years old now, it's actually creepy as shit.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
and
really
the
cool.
original Nosferatu really does have kind of like an eerie, dreamlike quality to it. The way I would describe the original film is, imagine you read the book Dracula while really sick. Basically, Nosferatu is like the fever dream you have after reading the book.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Because I know that this film we just watched took a lot of, like, imagery from it, especially with the big hand and then the shadows. Like, really nice homage to it. But it does feel dreamy. Like, his supernatural power, is it actually happening? Is it metaphorical? Or does he have that sway over people? Like, it's cool to play around with. But the images are so well known in public consciousness for a reason. So it does seem dreamy. A lot of that, right, German Impressionism? Expressionism, thank you. Like Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, everything's really slanted and stylized.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So what did you think of Robert Eggers' Nosferatu?
So in the cinema, when I first watched it with you and a few friends, I wasn't the biggest fan, but when I don't hear a lot of things, when I don't understand what's fully going on, I have a hard time enjoying it. This rewatch was amazing. I could rewind, I could hear things, we talked in between. All the references, all the research done, it's one of my favorites. I don't need a perfect remake of a film I've never seen. I love that somebody brought their own vision to it. I love this film.
I like that Robert Eggers managed to make the story feel fresh, even though Dracula, that's a novel that's been adapted, again, countless times at this point.
Public
But
domain.
he takes inspiration from the original film as well as other adaptations of Dracula, but also somehow makes it feel like its own thing as well.
For sure. For sure. I loved his vision. I loved the cinematography, even the story. And it tells you straight up. Now I could see it clearly with you rewatching it. They tell you everything what's going to happen straight up. And you almost wish for a different ending. But it's like destiny. And it's really cool.
So the plot of Nosferatu is it's set in Germany in the 1830s, and we follow a real estate agent named Thomas Hutter, who is sent to this remote castle in the Carpathian Mountains of Transylvania to visit with a mysterious nobleman known as Count Orlok, who wishes to buy property in Hutter's home city. If he secures this real estate deal, his future with the firm will be sealed, and him and his wife will be set for life. But his wife, Ellen, who already had a pretty traumatic past, has a really bad feeling about this trip. But he does not heed his wife's warnings, and he sets out on this journey to visit with Orlock. While on this journey, he starts having visions of vampires, corpses reanimated by the devil that must feed on blood in order to sustain themselves. And when he gets to Orlock's castle, he quickly learns that something is not right about this place, and more specifically, something is not right about Orlock, and he soon learns that Orlock is a Nosferatu, or a vampire. And not only that, but it's also implied that when he was alive, he was a very powerful wizard or sorcerer who sold his soul to the devil for immortality, and after he died, Satan brought him back as one of the Undead. And Orlock tricks Hutter into basically signing a Faustian contract with him, which involves him literally giving away his wife. And it turns out that Ellen has her own Faustian or Faustian contract with the demon. When she was a child, Orlock visited her in her dreams and essentially tricked her into letting him in. So now Orlock's come to the city to spread a devastating plague, and he will kill everyone she knows and loves, unless she willingly gives herself up to him. So in the film, Lily Rose Depp plays Ellen, who is based on the character of Mina Murray, later Mia Harker, in the novel Dracula by Bram Stoker. Now, this is a character that's shown up in many of the Dracula adaptations. She was played by Greta Schroeder in the original Nosferatu, as well as Helen Chandler in the Universal Dracula, Isabella Gianni in the 70s version of Nosferatu, and Winona Ryder in the 1992 Francis Ford Coppola version. But I gotta say, this might be the most tortured version of the character we've seen. And in my opinion, she really is the true protagonist of the film. This really is her story. And you can tell Lily Rose Depp is definitely channeling Isabella Gianni. Not just Isabella Gianni from the 70s Nosferatu, but specifically Isabella Gianni from the 1981 film Possession.
Yes, we just watched that, and it was so worth it. I'm really glad you recommended we did, because it was great.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
I see the influence.
You also have Nicholas Hoult as Thomas Hutter, who is based on the character of Jonathan Harker from the novel. You also have Aaron Taylor Johnson as Friedrich Harding, who is loosely based on the character of Arthur Homewood from the novel, as well as Emma Corrin as Harding's wife, who is sort of the stand-in for Lucy. And then you have Bill Skarsgård, who is borderline unrecognizable as Count Orlok or Dracula.
That was the most surprising one. When I found out later, after the movie, I was in shock. I was like, this is Pennywise? No way. He just disappeared into that role.
And then you have Willem Dafoe as Professor Albin Eberhard von Franz, who in the film is an occultist who knows of the existence of demons and vampires and is implied to have encountered the supernatural before, although he does admit that this is his first time encountering a Nosferatu or a vampire. Now, this character is of course based on the character of Abraham Van Helsing from Bram Stoker novel, who is arguably the second most iconic character from the novel next to Dracula himself. And I gotta say, this might be one of my favorite interpretations of the Van Helsing character. I would hold him right up there with Anthony Hopkins in the Francis Ford Coppola version, or Peter Cushing from the Hammer films. And as Cara pointed out earlier, Willem Dafoe did ironically play Count Orlok in the 2000 film Shadow of the Vampire, which was sort of a metafictional take on Nosferatu. But the first name of this version of the character, Albin, is likely a reference to Albin Grau, who was the producer of the original Nosferatu, who in real life was kind of an occultist himself, or at least he had a deep fascination with the occult and actually knew Aleister Crowley. Now, a highly fictionalized version of Albin Grau appeared in Shadow of the Vampire, where he was played by Udo Kier.
You also have Ralph Ineson as Dr. Wilhelm Sivers, who is very loosely based on the character of Jack Stewart from the novel. You also have Simon McBurney as Knock, who is based on the character of Renfield from the novel. So in the movie you have Ellen, and when you think about it, basically Orlok groomed her. He visited her when she was a child, even though in the beginning of the film, it's Lily Rose Depp as she is now, but it's sort of implied that she was supposed to be a child in that opening scene, and the idea is Orlok came to her when she was a child. It's basically grooming if you break it down.
Yeah, I was told when we watched it the first time, like, she summoned him, and I said, that did happen, I agree, but she was tortured the whole time. There's a fine line between enjoying it, but also, she consented to something by inviting it in, but that's not what she wanted. That's not what she expected. Yeah. She asked for a guardian angel and got something that was really watching her and didn't let go of her, so it was a really messed up version of a guardian angel. So her whole life she has been flirting with like these supernatural powers. She has these gifts that put off everyone around her, her family, maybe even her friends. She has this trauma from childhood. And then they disappeared when she met her true love, and so she thought she could put it behind her, but now in adulthood she's haunted again. Yeah. And it's integral to her character. I feel for her, because there's parts of her that enjoy it, and she tries to succumb to it as an adult woman, but she remembers how also she didn't want this, really.
And I do like how in the movie Orlok is both a literal monster and is sort of a metaphor for her trauma.
Yes, she even said, he is my shame. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of religious undertones with shame and like redemption that the film talks about. Like, she owns up to it. And then when Count Orlok finally meets her, he says, you are my affliction. And he says, it is in your nature, which was fascinating. She felt him like as a spirit, an entity in her body, right? Metaphor of a serpent. Again, and then he's like, no, that wasn't me, that was you, that's your nature. It's almost like projection, because he was clearly like possessing her, and she was like, there are parallels to having a sort of a release. So he was possessing her, but he also blames her nature, which is kind of groomy.
But there's something interesting about that. When Willem Dafoe's character is talking to her, she says her father used to call her his little changeling. Sort of implying, and Orlok even says to her, you are not of humankind. I think what Robert Eggers is going for here is she's supposed to be a fae, or like a fairy.
The word you told me to look up was sylph, and I never heard that word before, and that's a magical creature that has the powers of the air. So yeah, she might be very much strongly implied to be someone not of this world, which is really cool to notice on second rewatch. I didn't catch that the first time you did.
And I like the idea of, like, Orlock, that's the reason Orlock is attracted to her. He knows what she is, and that might even explain how she was able to call out to him.
Sure, she has powers that are not very human at all. Mm-hmm. She summons something, essentially.
And actually, if you go into, like, fairy folklore, like, from Irish folklore and all that, changelings, like, they're supposed to be, like, the idea is that the fae would, like, go into people's homes and kidnap a child and replace it with a changeling. What if that's what happened? Whoever the original Ellen was taken away, and this is like a replacement. This is literally a changeling. And Orlock realizes that.
Oh, and she's trying to fit into human society and really can't.
Before we continue on, here's my friend Christian Feliciano giving his thoughts on the 2024 Nosferatu remake.
I'm a huge fan of Gothic literature. I think these days it's kind of hard to get it right since it's been done so much by so many people. But I think that when it's done right, it's done really, really well. And this is one of the examples. Nosferatu is one of the best films I've ever seen. This one and the original. I love the original film. I've always loved the original film. I saw it first when I was a little kid and it scared me beyond belief, just because of how creepy Max Schreck looked with all the makeup and in the shadows. And then for some reason the silence, and the music, the fact that people weren't talking but it was words, for some reason that scared me. So I just love the original film. Now when it comes to the new film, this one is all sound, it's color, it's just beautiful, but it's also dark, it's gritty. Gothic, it's creepy. It's just a great film. Bill Skarsgård is perfect as Count Orlok. I just love everything that they did with this film. Robert Eggers is a genius, and I know he's coming out with another film. I think Werewolf, which I'm really interested in seeing as well. So I highly recommend you check this film out. The acting is fantastic. Willem Dafoe is in this. He's one of my favorite actors. I just think all around the writing, everything. This is fantastic. I love Nosferatu. I highly recommend it. This and Frankenstein make for a great Sunday evening. So if you get a chance, watch this one and then watch Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein back to back, and you'll have a great time. I mean, they are poetry, and at the end of the day, great Gothic literature or great Gothic art and entertainment is poetry. It's beautiful. It's metaphorical. It's everything you want to see. So I love this film. Robert Eggers, great job. And yeah, thank you so much. Bye bye.
And here's my friend John giving his thoughts on Robert Eggers' Nosferatu.
Hello everyone, this is my recording my honest thoughts on Robert Eggers' Nosferatu 2024 remake. Me and my father saw this in the movie theaters last year. We did like it, don't get me wrong, it was good, I did like it, but I did have some minor nitpicks with the recent Nosferatu remake. I don't understand why we need another remake to Nosferatu, especially how it was remade back in 1979, directed by Werner Herzog. That was a good remake. I feel like once you see the original Nosferatu and appreciate it, it's hard to top the original. I love the beautiful gothic atmosphere imagery, similar I feel about the Coppola Dracula 90s remake. The performances are excellent. Lily Rose Depp, Bill Skarsgård, Aaron Taylor Johnson, William Dafoe, and Nicholas Hoult all do a great job, have great performances in this movie, and Robert Eggers has great direction. Bill Skarsgård as the voice of Count Orlok was very scary, creepy, frightening, and effective. excessive. The exorcism seems a little bit too much, even though I get the point that she was possessed by Count Orlok. I am glad I saw this in the movie theaters, and thank you Robert Eggers for making a Nosferatu remake that came out in my time. Just like the original Nosferatu, it had social commentary on the pandemic. Not that long ago, we survived the coronavirus pandemic. It's true they say, history has a weird way of repeating itself. The one thing I've been benefiting from this movie is that to get modern audiences checking out the original Nosferatu from 1922. That was my thoughts on Robert Eggers' 2024 Nosferatu remake. Hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you, Christian, for having me be a part of this, and see you all next time.
I also like how the film really does almost play out like a demonic possession film in a lot of areas, because in the movie, it's implied that Orlok's consciousness either possesses Ellen, or he has demons at his command that he sends to possess her. So throughout a lot of it, we see her like literally being possessed by some kind of invading force.
It's a great demon possession film. I love that she did all the effects herself.
Yeah,
all the convulsing was her, and it was creepy. It's been memed a lot, but it's really creepy.
What do you think of Willem Dafoe as the Van Helsing stand-in? Because I gotta say, he might be, even though he's not called Van Helsing in the movie, this is probably one of my favorite interpretations of this character.
Yeah, he was the perfect portrayal, or one of them at least, like an ideal, like, alchemist, almost a therapist, but crazy and kicked out of the university because he knew too much. Like, I love that archetype of, like, the mad scientist or something. He played it so well. All the reviews I watched were like, he was a blast, he was enjoying the role, and he was fun. He was funny.
I liked what your friend, like when I saw it with you, Jason, Joey, and your friend Alyssa, right?
Yep.
I like what she said. I think she turned to you after the movie was over and said, Willem Dafoe fucked in that movie.
She would say that. Yeah, he did. He reveled in it, and he does with all of his roles. He is just like the Green Goblin all the time, but not really. He's just got such a range. He enjoys, and he's so good at playing that archetype of, like, reveling in the madness.
In the movie, Willem Dafoe's character, the Van Helsing stand-in, during that, like, exorcism scene, he's invoking both the names of angels and fallen angels as well. Like, basically, he's invoking both God and the devil to help him with this.
Yeah, exactly. It was really cool, because he didn't just act like a priest, and he wasn't, and he didn't act like, you know, just someone that dabbled in demonology. The fact that I researched the names with you, I googled it, and the fact that he called upon, right, the celestial and the infernal. Oh my god. There is just so many layers. I love this. It feels like a period piece that makes you want to do more research spiritually. It's fun. It's really fun. And the fact that somebody cares so much about lore in real life as well as for their own personal film.
Oh yeah, like Robert, the amount of research Eggers puts into his films is just, like, I can't even imagine it. Like, the guy is just so fucking smart, man.
We appreciate you, Robert Eggers. Yeah, all your films. Really beautiful period piece. It made me feel more believable for Van Helsing to be so well read. And like occultist, and no wonder he was kicked out. He's dabbling in things that nobody else seems to really understand. People hear angels and demons and they're like, you're a wackadoo. But he gets something. He gets it. You're dealing with a possessed girl, and then now we know that it could be urges, or it could be demons. It could be a slew of different things, but what I like was the symbolism of Van Helsing. There's always a cross behind him. He's always really peaceful and calm with her. He's like, take off the restraints, like, untie her. Like, he treats her like a person, but yet he's still that mad scientist who was kicked out. So he was empathetic, and I liked him in this version.
There are a lot of, like, references to the story of Faust in this. Like, if you read the novel, there actually are some Faustian themes in the original Dracula novel, too. In the movie, it's implied that Orlock, during his lifetime, was an alchemist or a sorcerer who made a deal with the devil, and that's basically how he became a vampire. And also, in the movie, like, again, he tricks Hutter and his wife into making these Faustian bargains with him. He tricked Knock, the Renfield stand-in, into making these Faustian deals with him.
Right.
So, again, there is sort of this, like, Faustian or deal with the devil kind of theme within the story.
That was fascinating. You pointed that out, and then upon rewatch, it was like, Yeah, he's absolutely duping them, but it's also right in their face because Thomas is signing something in a language he doesn't understand. You pointed out, Count Orlok says, this is the language of my forefathers, but it's not in any language known to man. It's all sigils, and it's all symbols, and it's like, oh, this is an alchemical secret language that you probably used in real life. No one can understand. So someone's signing their life away. He duped everybody. He duped the couple into signing away their covenants. So Thomas belonged to him, and then Lily Rose Depp's character, Ellen, thank you. Ellen belonged to him. So messed up, so that they had to, they were all entangled in this deal, and the only way they could solve it was according to those rules. Like, was it free will or was it destiny? We were talking about that before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting question, like that idea of free will versus determinism is like, and this goes into like if you believe in God or not, like, you know, if you believe that our universe was created by some kind of divine entity, like, and if you believe everything's preordained by him, does free will really exist if everything we do, everything we say is already preordained long before our existence on this planet? And so there's that question in the movie, like, how much, like, this, like, Faustian bargain that Ellen made with Orlock when she was a child and that Hutter made, how much of it was their own will, and how much of it was just the will of destiny?
Well, with this film, I was pointing out that when Thomas makes it to the castle, you feel this energy, there's a supernatural pull, he's floating, the cinematography is explaining how eerie and slow and dreadful it all feels, which I love. Some folks don't like it, I love it. It's dreadful and it's building. It's a pull. He's almost getting pulled, but Thomas is uncomfortable the entire time. He knows something's off from the way he feels to the way Count Orlok looks. Even being around him is giving him the ick. Yet he still signs his everything away. He still signs it away. So Ellen has this supernatural pull towards Count Orlok, but she still doesn't like it. It's very possessive, right? And it does play with a lot of free will. Even though they invoke these spirits, it was by an accident, and yet they also signed away things willingly by making the covenant of their own free will. So, in real life, I believe, personally, everybody has a choice. In the film, you're seeing, like, almost the loopholes they could have taken to get out of it. The point on rewatch that boggled my mind was that Thomas is on death's door, and the Romanian church, the Orthodox church, saves him. And he's, like, so desperate to leave and, like, save his loved one. And he could have stayed there, and he could have gotten sanctuary and been completely exorcised. There's always choices, in my mind. As much as there's a way into the crap, there's a way out. And there were multiple ways out, but they went too far to the sense of, oh no, we have to play by these old book rules. The Nosferatu can only be killed one way, and we have to do it this way. So there's a lot of destiny and free will being played with there, which is so fun to explore. It felt like a book. All his films feel like stories.
Honestly, and as pretentious as this might sound, I really do feel like his films really do feel like literature on film.
Absolutely. No, I've been pretentious the whole time. Don't worry about it. You're absolutely right. When I watch The Witch, The Lighthouse especially, the dialogue is like a book. It's amazing. And it's so rare to see that in film, for me anyway. Yeah, this whole thing felt like a gothic romance / horror / demon possession film. Demon possession is wild.
And to get into, like, the characterization of Orlock himself,
Yes.
like, I like how in the movie Orlock basically looks like a rotting corpse, which, when you think about it, that's probably what a vampire would look like. If vampires really existed, they are supposed to be reanimated corpses, so it makes sense. And something I noticed upon this rewatch is there's a lot of moments where he's wheezing and he's coughing, like he's sick.
He's grasping for life that he doesn't have. The wheezing is like, that's not human, that's not natural. Thomas got the ick. He's like, he wants life.
Yeah,
he
like
has to feed off of us.
This really does suck, no pun intended, all the romanticism out of the vampire myth.
Yeah, it's not Edward Cullen. It's not even the Bela Lugosi Dracula. It's a whole other breed. He looks like a Romanian a warlord or a noble, right?
Nobleman, yeah.
More of a nobleman. Yeah, some people took issue with the mustache. Understandable.
But to be fair, in the book, Dracula has a big bushy mustache,
right.
so...
Right, he does, and so did Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah.
Like, the main inspiration, so I didn't care. It was a cool, fresh new look. I love the comb-over, it was so gross.
And I mentioned how, like, Orlock and Ellen's relationship really could be seen as a metaphor for grooming. Like, Orlock in this movie basically is a sexual predator.
He even, yes.
And not just to Ellen, but to her husband as well.
Completely. The pose when he's feeding, it's not a romantic, like, neck vampire. It is a feral, gross, I'm animalistic. He says it himself in the quote, I'm an appetite, nothing more. And that is no mystery in this film. He's feeding on him. He's, like, also naked. He's completely given into his feral instincts. What does the possessed guy say? He's like, the blood is the life.
Yeah.
We have life. We're human. Vampires need to take it. They're devoid of life. So we hear that he's completely lacking life in the wheezing and the fact that he needs to feed like an animal. He feeds on the children.
Yeah.
He doesn't even take all of it. He's just like...
Yeah.
It's just a waste. At least... drink the whole thing, you know? It's just out to, Van Helsing also says it himself, it's just a plague meant to infect the whole world. That's mindless.
Yeah, like, when you think about it, Orlock in this... And it's kind of the same thing in the original Nosferatu, and especially in the 70s version as well. Orlock is basically like one of the horsemen of the apocalypse. Like,
yes.
He is the plague personified.
Yes. Pestilence, death, famine, and war.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
While Orlock is detestable in this film, there's a weird kind of pity you have for him because, and you even brought this up, like, there's this sense that maybe he does regret what he is, like maybe he regrets what he's become, and, like, maybe he does, and I don't think he actually loves Ellen, like, what he wants is power over her, but there is this sense that he does genuinely want to love her. He wants to know
he wishes he could.
Yeah, he wishes he could love as a human would love.
Absolutely. He kept saying that with Thomas. He was like, I forget the quote, but he was just like, oh, how fortunate it is to have love. And he keeps the locket. He covets something he can never have. He says that he's an appetite. So he doesn't understand that, or maybe in his mortal life he never did. He wishes he could. So the closest thing he has is this obsession, this predatory, like, lust. And it's whack, because that's the closest thing to love. He projects also by being like a groomer. He says to her, like, love is beneath you. And it's like, buddy, you don't even understand love, and you're criticizing her. She lost all her night terrors when she found Thomas, and they could have built something together, but they were like, they had faith in each other, but they lost. It's like they were missing a faith element, and then they were being tormented by this guy anyway. I see Orlock as, like, awakening a desire, whether it be in women or just... she's clearly, like, when she's having these ministrations at night, it's very equal to an orgasm. And so it's like, is this possession something she enjoys? Is she enjoying this against her will? It was a very, like, womanly thing to see. It's, like, awakening a desire, and whether by... Sometimes people have desires that are awakened and they don't choose it, but that they're here now, and part of her wanted it, part of her didn't. So there's a line, but like you said, Orlock was predatory about it. He wasn't this guardian angel. It was like this thing he wanted and he couldn't have. And then she's, like, awakened now, so she's grappling with that. It was so very human with a supernatural element. There's this whole, like, sexual parallel to it that we need to... Willem Dafoe even said it, to conquer the darkness, we need to understand it within ourselves. We need to understand that there's this dark desire people have, or, like, these urges, and how to deal with that. And she was, like, convulsing in the ocean. Remember that? That absolutely looked like an orgasm. Like, but, you know, you can make these parallels that make sense when you're an adult, and she didn't understand it as a youngin', you know, when she was too young to fully comprehend that she's being possessed. And then when you're older, you have a husband, you have these awakenings that only as an adult you'd understand in hindsight, and then now she's, like, grappling with that. It was wild to see a possession movie also turn into, like, a feminine sexuality awakening desire, almost feminist type thing.
A lot of what you're bringing up is very thematically similar to The Witch. You know, a lot of those ideas and themes do come up in The Witch.
Yes, absolutely. The liberation at the very end of the film.
And actually,
they're naked.
You pointed out, like, the scene where Ellen's friend...
Anna, the mom?
Yeah, Anna, the mother, is being fed on by the rats, is very similar to a scene from The Witch, where the mother thinks she's breastfeeding her child, and then we see in real life her breasts are being pecked at by the crow. She's
moaning when she's getting eaten by the rats. It's like this pain and this pleasure balance where she's like having a moan that sounds very sexual, and she's getting devoured. Lily Rose Depp was terrified when she saw her friend being devoured. It's not great.
So yeah, to quickly wrap up my thoughts on Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, I thought this was a great movie. Not just a great horror film, but a great film in general. This was actually my favorite film of 2024, and it's probably going to go down as one of my favorite horror films of the past decade. And like I said before, I think Eggers does a great job at staying true to the spirit of the original Bram Stoker novel, as well as the spirit and tone of the original F.W. Murnau film. He also pays tribute to the Werner Herzog version, as well as other adaptations of Dracula, yet he still manages to make the story his own and sort of add his own spin to it, and thematically it's very similar to a lot of Eggers' other films. And it has these themes of science versus religion versus occultism. It also deals with themes of gender, how certain issues that women at this time might have been dealing with were sort of dismissed as either mental illness or female hysteria. And even the fact that Orlock in this movie, he's basically an allegory for a sexual predator or a groomer. There's also themes of dark sexuality, as Cara alluded to. And Eggers does a great job at combining the vampire genre with the demonic possession genre with sort of that Faustian deal with the devil kind of story. In a lot of ways, this story almost feels like Dracula meets The Exorcist meets Faust. There's also a folk horror element, which is very reminiscent of The Witch. It's also just a beautifully made film, and a beautiful looking film too. And the film, like the original Nosferatu, does have this eerie, almost dreamlike atmosphere.
This is an uncomfy watch with a bunch of friends, especially the ending, but you can laugh a lot about it.
I guess so. I mean, you were uncomfy. I was fine. I was fine. You know, I mean, that happens all the time, okay? And you just got to accept life, and you know. And I think in the end, Thomas accepted life.
Well said. He accepted that his wife died and had to fornicate with a zombie before the first crow of cock.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's how it happens. You know, it be like that sometime.
Facts.
But no, it's a great movie. I really do think this is gonna go down as not just one of the best Dracula movies, but one of the best vampire films in general. So, before I end this video, here's my friend Jeremy giving his thoughts on the remake of Nosferatu.
Robert Eggers' 2024 remake of Nosferatu is an extremely creepy and disturbing film with so many dark and terrifying visuals, an amazing cast, incredible blood and gore effects, and a very compelling story of good versus evil. I've seen both F.W. Murnau's original 1922 film, Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror, and Werner Herzog's 1979 remake, Nosferatu the Vampire, and like those two, this interpretation is a masterpiece in horror filmmaking. The film is amazing to look at. It's so dark and dreary, which is just perfect for a story like this, and the sets are magnificent, especially Count Orlok's castle. The costumes were also very well designed and perfectly match the time period in which the film is set. And I gotta say, the cast of this movie are all great in their roles. Bill Skarsgård is absolutely terrifying and was definitely the right actor for the role of Count Orlok. You know, he's a very tall and imposing individual, so naturally he towers over the rest of the cast, which makes him all the more threatening. The voice Bill Skarsgård uses as Count Orlok is also perfect for the role. It's a very rough, deep, and unsettling voice. That's definitely right up there with the voice that Mercedes McCambridge used to voice the demon in The Exorcist. I remember reading an interview in which he said that he worked with an opera singer in order to bring his voice down several octaves for the role. Now that, I gotta say, is dedication. He definitely did a great job making Count Orlok's voice very supernatural, you know, like it comes from another world. I actually was lucky enough to get Bill Skarsgård's autograph at the stage door for The Late Show with Stephen Colbert on September 9th, 2019. I gotta say, when he arrived, first saw him come out of the car, I was really shocked at just how tall he was. I took a bunch of candid photos of him, and if you look closely at some of them, you'll see that he even towers over the security guards. I'd heard how tall he was before that, but I guess I just wasn't prepared. I mean, my God, the guy's a freaking skyscraper. He called over to all of us graphers waiting at the barricade, you know, to try to get his autograph, and said that he'd sign on his way out of the show. And when he came back out of the stage door, true to his word, he came over and started signing autographs. Unfortunately, as soon as he came over to the barricade, all hell broke loose, and a lot of the other graphers, or as I like to call them, a lot of the other thick-headed morons, started pushing and shoving and screaming and just being completely irrational and uncivilized. It was total chaos. Fortunately, I was still able to get Mr. Skarsgård to sign both my 8x10 photo of him as Pennywise and also my copy of Stephen King's It. I hope to meet him again someday, although hopefully under much calmer circumstances. Lily Rose Depp is also great in this movie. She does a great job showing her character's pure terror, and I also found it interesting how she seemed to have some kind of psychic link with Count Orlok. This movie is definitely a showcase for Lily Rose Depp's acting talents, and she definitely makes the most of every scene she's in. As you all may already know, she's the daughter of the legendary Johnny Depp, and when you watch this movie, you can tell that she definitely inherited her father's immense acting talent. Also, as usual, Willem Dafoe doesn't disappoint in his role as the crazed vampire hunter, Professor Albin Eberhard von Franz, who we know is on the side of good, but clearly has some severe issues of his own. All in all, the entire cast are great in their roles. As I mentioned before, the blood and gore effects in this movie are incredible. They look very realistic and are extremely gross and unsettling. At one point in the movie, a man bites off the head of a live pigeon. It's just as horrible and disgusting as you would imagine, as is every other violent and gory thing that happens in this movie. They certainly didn't skimp on the violence and gore, that's for sure. I also really loved how they didn't reveal Count Orlok right away. I thought that was a very, very good idea. They didn't even reveal what his face looked like in the promotional material, you know, like the posters and the trailers. They kept him in the shadows for a while before revealing him, which definitely made him even more terrifying. I also really liked how there's a very constant sense of dread in Nosferatu. You know, it's a very foreboding film. I also want to mention the part in which Count Orlok extends his hand in the form of a giant shadow all across the town. It's such a terrifying image, which in my opinion suggests that Count Orlok's in the process of taking control of and killing everyone in the town, which is absolutely horrifying. The scenes in which people are attacked by plague rats are also very disturbing to watch. All in all, I really enjoyed this movie, and I think that it's definitely worthy of being put on the same level as the original 1922 film and the 1979 remake. It's obvious that a lot of time and extremely hard work went into every single aspect of making this movie the dark and horrifying spectacle that it is.
There's really not much else I could say about this movie that we didn't already touch on, I think.
Agreed.
But before we end this video, let's talk about other vampire movies or other vampire books. Like, what are some of your favorite vampire stories?
Why is the only thing that's coming to my mind Van Helsing? Come on.
There's more to life than Van Helsing.
I know, but it had such an impact on me because I was like, whoa, 3 monsters in one? Boy howdy. There's a lot that you've showed me. There's Carmilla, and I really love that. Bram Stoker's Dracula is incredible, 1992. Nosferatu, in my brain, won't be like the go-to vampire, but it's definitely one of the top 5, I think. It's just so impeccably balancing so many different things, and I love gothic stories that end in tragedy.
One of my favorites is Richard Matheson's I Am Legend, which is about vampires taking over the earth. It was made into a movie called The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price, and then it was, of course, made into the Will Smith movie.
I Am Legend.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. There's also Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice is also great.
That one is amazing.
Yeah, the sequels are really good too, if you ever read the other Vampire Chronicles novels.
I have them all down here, and I really ought to watch Queen of the Damned.
Oh, you don't want to watch Queen of the Damned.
Oh, it looks so good!
No, the book is really good. You don't want to watch that movie, though.
Oh, but I like camp and cringe.
Okay. You also have From Dusk Till Dawn. I don't know if you ever saw From Dusk Till Dawn.
Heard great things.
Oh, it's great. It's one of my favorites. Sinners. Sinners is another great...
How could I forget about Sinners?
Yeah, why did you forget about...
Best movie of the year.
Yeah.
Best movie of the year. Oh, I loved Daybreakers. Nobody talks about Daybreakers.
I really got to see Daybreakers.
We'll watch it.
I'm embarrassed that I haven't seen that movie yet.
That's a great one. The Lost Boys.
Lost Boys is good.
Never saw it, but I like Joel Schumacher.
Another one of my favorite vampire stories is Stephen King's Salem's Lot, as well as the Tobe Hooper adaptation from 1979. Fright Night is another one of my absolute favorites, as well as Blade.
Blade was so fun. Where else do you see a blood rave?
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere. Lately, I've been watching a lot of Buffy with my friends.
All right.
Yeah, and there's a lot of vampires in that, and she is a slayer.
All right, so I think we'll wrap it up.
I think we're all good. Thanks for showing me this again. This is fun.
Thank you for taking part.
Yeah, man, always. And remember, eat garlic.
Yes, eat garlic. So that was our review of Robert Eggers' remake of Nosferatu, and bye, everyone.